It's like a happy but sad occasion, everybody. We're at the finish line of the 2025 CFL season, literally, as well. Andrew and I aren't in Winnipeg, but colleagues of ours, CFL fans who we know, we may not know, may see on Twitter, are descending upon the great. We'll use great lightly. I've been to Winnipeg before. But they're headed to the great city of Winnipeg for the 112th Grey Cup, and we're here to talk about that and a whole other bunch of stuff. So get ready for a Freepin great podcast.
Is that the title of it? Freepin great podcast? Because that'd be really funny.
We'll see. We'll see where this goes. We'll see where it goes.
I'll see how it goes. Okay, that's fair. Yes, it is that time of year where we are excited for the finale and sad because it has to go away for a while after the finale. So luckily I'm sure there'll be a few things for us to talk about in this off season with things moving around and such, but it's been a good season, and we've had some really good playoff games, and that it's just that ramp up to the end, right? It's very exciting, and obviously to have a couple teams in there that haven't. Well, I guess Montreal's been in recently, but Saskatchewan not being there for a while, it's kind of exciting to see how that's going to turn out.
And the fact, too, you said it about the playoff games, the fact that we've had 4 playoff games where they were decided by fewer than 2 scores. I know one was I believe it was 9 or 12 points, but still, the fact that you had 4 playoff games, including this past weekend, which just drama-packed to the very end. Corey Mace, and I can say this, playing the ultimate game of fuck around and find out, and in the moment, I'm like, you're either going to look like a hero or you're going to look like a dumbass. And he looked like a hero.
He believed in his guys and they got it done. Well, now, I mean, on the other hand, there's some argument still over whether that was a catch or not. And I honestly don't know where I fall on the fence on it. I think it was a catch, but it's there's so many things that could go either way, but my darker green bias will tell me that it wasn't a catch, but the rest will tell me that it looked close. It's too hard to overturn anyway, so they called it a catch. It's a catch.
And because of my double blue bias, I can say I thought it was a catch from Argonauts legend Tommy Nealt.
There you go. That's exactly how that works, right? You gotta have the faith in the guys we know.
Exactly. But no, like, if you look back to Saturday's games, like I thought Hamilton was going to win just because part of me, even as an Argonaut fan and reporter, I felt like this year is like it would just been very poetic for them to win. Just the drought, the Ted Gavaya situation, which actually happened right after you and I were last on. Yes. But they kind of did the same thing they've done, where when you're called upon, just dice doesn't go your way, and now they're probably the one team right now into a CFL offseason where it's kind of like, where do we go from here? Obviously, there's another team in Toronto that I talked about briefly last week, because I happened to record on the exact same day the Dinwiddie announcement dropped, and then I was on a podcast Thursday with said Ryan Dinwiddie.
Oh, nice.
Yes, but essentially with Hamilton now, they have this huge direction. What's our quarterback going to be? Their defense has to get better for next year. I think the offense is going to look different next year. It kind of seemed like everything was like the pieces were like, I haven't seen a loss for them since the Argos of 23. You assume, hey, that team was obviously 16-2 is different from what Hamilton did, but that Hamilton team screamed to me, hey, they're going to go to the Grey Cup. It's just full steam ahead. You had a Quebecois sized roadblock that you couldn't just get over. So now you're kind of left scratching your head of, hey, this is a special group. We know that there probably is going to be change in that organization on the field and off the field.
I would think so, even just because of the very unfortunate passing of Ted Gavaya. So who is going to take the permanent role of GM? And as soon as that happens, then they're going to be looking at, who do I want for my guys, right? You look at guys like Kenny Lawler coming over. Well, that was an attachment to Gavaya, right?
Wolodarski.
Brandon O'Leary Orange even had that connection, right? So I just think that there was a lot going, kind of Hamilton's way. And I thought that it's interesting because they had a great record, but they did have a lot of games where they either like just squeaked out the win or just had the loss. And that's kind of what bit them last week. And you just see Davis Alexander, and the kid is just on fire right now. He just finds a way, right? Yep. And that's hard to when you come up against that, no matter what team it would have been. And so now we'll see what happens when we get to this week, because it looked like Alexander might have tweaked something there. I'm sure that he'll find a way to play, but it's tough when you're playing on not a great hamstring. And I honestly thought that game might be a little more high scoring between the two of those teams. So to keep it close and then have that the last minute field goal, lots of drama, absolutely. But I do feel bad for Hamilton fans as well, because it's so close, right? Like they're right there. And I was kind of hoping in the back of my mind that it would be a Hamilton BC, Grey Cup, and one of them would end the drought, right? Like, there's a lot of other cat names that I've used for when those two play each other, but we'll just leave that alone. But I do think that it would have been kind of neat to see that. Or even just if it was Montreal and BC, then it's the two young gun quarterbacks, or Hamilton and Saskatchewan, then it's the old guard and quarterbacks, kind of who's going to go out on a high note, right? And this one, so it's an interesting combination having Montreal and Saskatchewan in there.
I'm going to wait to talk about them just because I agree with you on all the points you made. Seeing a Hamilton BC one would have been a lot of fun, because when those two teams got together in the regular season, both matchups were exciting. You made the point about points. In my best bets, I said I thought Hamilton was going to win. I also thought the over was going to hit. It screamed a game like, last one to have the ball, but it was 19-16.
Right.
But I can gleefully come on here and say I called the West Final. I said Sask is going to win. BC's going to find a way to keep it close, and it's going to be a low scoring game. And it was 24-21 at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a good call. I also thought that one was going to be a shootout, but
that was weather related. Why I said it was going to be low scoring.
Yeah, I did pick Saskatchewan with BC covering, so it's close, right? But yeah,
and then like I just said with Hamilton, I talked to when Hamilton was in Toronto back at the beginning of October, which was Toronto's last home game. I talked to some Hamilton reporters because I was just like, hey, who's calling the shots now? I'm like, because they never really said anything after Ted passed away. And they basically told me that's kind of like by committee right now. So I believe their player personnel people plus Orlando Steinauer. So I feel like they'll probably get a concrete GM announced, I guess sometime probably after Grey Cup, probably sometime maybe November, early December, maybe I would say into the new year, but I feel like they want to have that announced before Christmas, just so you can go into the off season, have your concrete plan, kind of like just to pivot what Toronto's got to do now, because look, I don't know what to believe. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but it just seemed like, hey, Ryan wanted to go somewhere where he ultimately could call the shots and be the ultimate shot caller. Ottawa's giving that to him, and I wish him nothing but the best. But going back to the West Final now, BC is a very interesting team because they also have that 2023 flair to them where, and look, we can get into if you want your stance on Chad Kelly, but I remember after that East Final when they lost, he was asked, you're going to have to go to Niagara Falls, because that's what the awards were, and accept MOP.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going to be? Nathan Rourke's going to have the same emotions probably in about 48 hours from now. I know everyone's saying, oh, bonus. I think the fact Nate's Canadian, I think the fact that he had this he basically carried the team on his back to, if it wasn't for his play, because we saw what happened when Jeremiah Masoli was quarterback of that team.
Yes.
Yeesh. But for me, the winning cupcake was that game in September when they had to go to Calgary and they were an underdog and they put 50 on that defense. I know that defense got very ransacked with injuries towards the end of the year, but the fact he went into that building and outdoors 50 points on a Friday night, and I'm like, yeah. And then he basically carried the team on his back, 2 great playoff games. Like there was, and it was said in our group chat, but I once JC pointed out, and I saw the replay of it, the pump fake on the first rushing touchdown. I'm like, you sly dog. I'm like, you bad man. Good Lord. Just the, oh no, I'm going to keep it and just run a route out to the, and then just get into the end zone untouched. I'm just like, man, the BC Lions basically figured out how to play football to where they're going to, like, when you already look at next year, like who it's going to be, there's 4 teams that you can make a case for right now that, hey, they have a shot at getting into the playoffs. And one of them I haven't even talked about yet. Your Edmonton Elks. Look, for Toronto, the kicking incident, Toronto season kind of went down. Edmonton finished very strong that year to where next year, Hamilton's now, you know what, hey, instead of feel bad for us, it's why not us?
Right. Yeah. And I think, okay, so there's a couple of things I want to touch on in there. As far as BC is concerned,
yeah,
I think it just took time because, of course, all of the coaching was new, right?
Yeah.
They had to get used to that coaching. I know that, you know,
Also, Betts remembering how
Benavides
to
was
play
still
football
there.
is a very good thing too for them.
That did help. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like, yeah, remember you can run. Yeah,
You can run and
but
hurt people. Great.
that's right, yeah, not great for everyone else. Good for him
No.
though. But I do think that other than Benavides, they had a whole bunch of like bucked to learn the offense. They had to learn, and you could tell by about mid-season they started to get it, and then they started to ramp up. Right, so I think that BC is going to be one of the interesting teams that I think won't have a lot of changes. They may have a few changes on their offensive line. I think they're going to be looking for a little bit of help, not lots, but a little bit. But I don't know that there's going to be. They have a long list of free agents they're going to have to deal with. But I think they're going to try and keep this group together as much as possible, much like Winnipeg did to when they were on their streak of getting to Grey Cups. And sneaky thing, something to think about in the background, but they keep moving the Grey Cup up earlier and earlier and earlier. Who does that benefit? Nathan Rourke. I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you, because less elements means that team fires on more cylinders. So I think that they'll be in the playoffs for sure. It'll be curious to see how much of a push they have next year as they get better and better. As far as the Elks are concerned, I do think that the the base level is there. Everything got changed between GM, all the coaches. There's really no carryover of coaches other than Aaron Grimes. Um, so that they needed a lot of time to figure that out. Seems like they were figuring it out as the year ended, and now they've got to work on some of their pieces, including offensive line, possibly a little bit on defensive line. But the strongest part of the team in the end ended up being the secondary, which I never would have guessed that at the beginning of the season. And if they can get Cody back under center, I feel like there's some interesting things to happen at Edmonton as well.
Yeah, just with 2026, there's a lot of questions to be answered amongst the 9 teams of who's going to be what. I throw Winnipeg, that like kind of Hamilton, where I feel like they can still compete, but you don't know who's under center, and heck, for at least one of those teams, who's coaching. I know everyone's going to say like, oh, I'm speculating on the O'Shea things. Like, hey, look, he got permission to talk. So if I think there's a chance that he might be in Toronto, we'll have to wait and
Mhm.
see. I still expect an announcement for that because look, I know MLSC can steal news headlines. I don't think they'll do that with the Toronto Argonauts. I think if they have
Mm.
someone, it'll be probably next week. Like, hey,
Oh,
or
I think they'll respect not putting anything out during Grey Cup week, but
yeah.
probably shortly. I would say within the 2 weeks after we hear.
Yeah, I think I'd say December 5th, I think we have an idea of who's coaching the Toronto Argonauts. And then the player personnel and the football ops stuff, that's another topic for another day. But that's what I do think. I think they're going to take their time. I know everyone's saying, oh, O'Shea. I still think Mark Mueller's an outside candidate for the job. I know
Yep.
there's Ken Austin and the Chris Jones reports. I don't want that. That just kind of screams like, you far well sadly know what Chris Jones could be. And I just don't think that's it for Toronto. And then Ken Austin, it's, hey, he's in Auburn. Auburn's, they have an amazing offense. It's like they're one of those weird teams where they're great at one position, they're terrible at another position. So Mark Mueller or Michael O'Shea are probably my top 2 candidates there, unless they want to go outside the box. But I'd get, because we've seen it with the young head coach in the CFL. Like, hell, look at Edmonton. Mark Killam comes in.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of those post game ones, and the one that stood out to me was I believe it was the game you played against Calgary after Labor Day at home, where I saw that passion. And I'm like, he's getting that buy-in. He always had that, like,
Yep.
hey, it's going to take some time, but we're there. And you're getting that from him. You got that from Buck. You're going to get that from Dinwiddie in Ottawa. Jason
Mhm.
Moss has that where it's like, oh, or Jason Moss is more, as Matthew Shanty told me, you're going to listen to what I say, and I don't give a shit what you have to say about it. But
Right.
we're seeing a lot of that new guard coaching where people are buying into what the coach is selling. And so that's why I still think, because apparently you have to wait for 2 weeks or a week, so either a week after or 2 weeks after the team season's over to talk. So that's why the Dinwiddie
Right.
thing waited until it did. And that's why I think they probably still want to, talk to Mark Mueller. I don't think they're just going to rush to hire someone. I feel like
Oh yeah.
Probably come down to O'Shea and thing, but that's pretty much it. And then for going into 2026 with Edmonton, I do think Cody's the guy. I just think next year it's kind of that there's pressure to not start hot, but I think they just can't go like 1-6. If they're
Right.
that 1-6 is like, a 3-4 or a 4-3 to where they're playing around 500 above or just below, like below 500 football come late August. That's where Edmonton's in the driver's seat. I think if the defense, has some games where they're not allowing, like what happened against Toronto, what happened against Hamilton. Sorry to open up other wounds, but we all have
That's
had
okay.
it. Hey, 2 of the 3 teams that missed the playoffs are the teams that you and I cover and watch. So we're in this together.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, and you know what? The funny thing is, I have a lot of people say that, like, I don't want to open up old wounds. I'm like, it's okay. I have therapy. I'm good now. I'm good. I've recovered. I just, you just black them out after and care. No, I'm kidding. It for me though, you hit the nail on the head though when you said it's the start that has to be better. And I think the best part of this is that JC Sherritt came in as he was basically a rookie as a defensive coordinator, right?
Yep.
He was just learning that as well, and trying to get the guys on the same page. At the beginning of the season, I remember in training camp having a conversation with Ed Hervey, and he was saying, it's a new offense, and we want to let Trey grow in the offense, but we're gonna have, but our expectation based on what they had signed in free agency was that the defense will cover off the offense until the offense can catch up. And unfortunately, that didn't happen just as they were learning that system. And JC was learning how to call a game and learning how to put his guys in the right position for success. And it was about game 8, we started to see that change go, where they started to figure out, okay, this is where we need to be. And they didn't play perfectly, but they definitely played better. And because 75% of that defense are all young guys in first or second year, they're going to be around next year. And so the base now has been laid down for the start to be better on the defensive side of the ball. That should go a long way to help this team to get to where they want to go. Those people that say the games in June and July don't really matter, I can tell you they do.
Shout out to our wonderful cohort John Hodge on that remark as well.
Yes.
I've always been the one where it's like, like what he says, where it's like, it's not that the season doesn't begin Labor Day, but you can definitely lose the season before Labor Day, or not even lose it, but you can set yourself so far back to where you're basically playing catch up on Labor Day, where it's kind of like they're already at the 20-yard line and you're only at the 40, or you're at the 45
right.
or 50, or for about another 12 months, the 55-yard line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
See, that hurts more than the walk-off field goals, but okay.
Yeah. Which, and I know there's a lot of people I know too. Like, I look at the rules and I'm like, I like even the early Grey Cup too. Everyone's thinking, oh, they're doing this and this. I'm like, I like the early Grey Cup. Like, I don't like,
yeah.
Like, do people want to sit outside in like subpar temperatures and like watch it? No, I don't think. Also, the people I know, people are saying, oh, they're going to get rid of a bye week. I don't think they're going to do getting rid of a bye week. I think that would just cause a huge rift with the players. Move the season up, begin at the end of May, because guess what? People at the end of May, what do they want to do? They want to get outside.
Right. That's
they
fair.
want to they want to go outside, even if the weather's still a little chilly and stuff like that. You'd rather have a chilly like mid to high teens than a chilly, hey, do you want to go watch football in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2 weather?
Right.
Hey, Friday night in May, let's go watch.
Let's watch it at 8 degrees, but possibly going up, not the other way around, right? Or get the tougher, colder games out of the way early, and then have it kind of mellow for the rest of the time, right? I think that's not such a bad thing either. I'm a little biased because now in 2027 the Grey Cup will be on my birthday weekend, so
Ooh.
Perfect for me. Like, that is the way to celebrate. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. Except, of course, that it's in Saskatchewan. I probably have to book a hotel now, or I'm not getting one.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't mind it moving up a bit. I don't. That doesn't really bug me, as long as they keep the season at 18 games, and your semis, your division finals, and then your Grey Cup. Like I'm pretty good with it. My worry was that they would have the consideration of dropping back to either 16 or 17 games, and I want to keep it at 18 just so that we get, I like more football. So if we can keep it at 18, I'd prefer that.
Yeah, like I'm the same way. Like I don't think 18 is going anywhere. It's so funny to watch every time I hear the NFL arguments for 18, where it's like add a second bye weekend, and I'm like, hey, for as much stuff as the NFL gets wrong, like the 18th game is the one thing that the CFL does right. And I know like people like the dog on the CFL, but they've gotten 18 games right for I don't know when 18th game started, but they've gotten it right for a long time. Hey, 21 weeks. Obviously, it's a lot easier to exercise than with the 9 teams and having each team get 3 bye weeks. But I look at it where I'm like, if you want an NFL blueprint on how to do an 18-game season, look at the CFL.
Right.
I also do think too, just you know what, hey, you end the season a little bit earlier, then teams basically get all of November off pretty much instead of going into the third week in November to where it's effectively, and for players like say for example this weekend or even last weekend, you only get really what 5.5 months of an off season compared to now where you're probably going to get closer to a 6-month off season to where yeah, I know training camps right now open around Mother's Day. You just move that up. Hey, skip your Cinco de Mayo, go for training camp.
That's a big ask, Anyway,
I know.
That's why. Yeah, okay.
It's a huge ask, but I don't think it's too bad of an ask. To where then, you know what? Hey, that May long weekend, instead of playing one random preseason game, you can sell a full slate of Victoria Day football. Play, what is it? 2 games on the like play a game Saturday, play two games Sunday, play 2 games Monday. Hey, think about it. Victoria Day Monday. It sells itself. You want to come watch Calgary play Edmonton? Play a game here. You want to watch Toronto play Edmonton, like Toronto play Hamilton? Do the exact same thing, where it's like, hey, you can sell these like double headers. Obviously, they won't be on probably won't be on TV. They'll be on like CFL Plus, but you can draw people out to them because hey, for a preseason game, especially too, holiday Monday, not doing anything, want to come watch some football?
Yeah, right.
I did it this year, but it was a double blue scrimmage.
Right, and that's not such a bad thing. So, I and it's funny because I usually take that first week of training camp off just so I can be around and watching and kind of doing my own little judging up in my seat in the stands. But it's if that happens in the first week of May, it probably just means I need to wear a sweater than a t-shirt.
Yeah,
but I could still watch, right? Where now. I do think, though, I think they may consider removing the third bye week. And I only say that because I've heard some players say it really doesn't make that big a difference to them. So I could see where there might not be as much pushback on that, where they could go back to the 2 bye weeks and probably be fine. But if they keep it with 3, I don't think it's the end of the world to move it up a little bit, right? So I think when we see 2027 coming, the game is on November the 8th, if I remember 7th, right? And so it's, but they're not going to now move it back to another week the next year where it's at Halloween. Like it's going to be probably that first weekend in November, which isn't such a bad thing either.
You have the first cup, and also too for everything. The games are on Halloween night. I don't think they wouldn't be because next year Halloween's on a Saturday, and then it'll be the year after be on a Sunday. And obviously from Labor Day, pretty much up until Grey Cup, CFL avoids. They don't play on Sundays, which I know people could say, "Hey, you know what? Oh, why don't they do that?" There's a pretty big reason why they don't pay. Yeah. But no, it's just everything for it's a positive thing, and like. Don't let the Peter Diakowskis of the world tell you that it's a weird conspiracy theory. But and even we have another one too with the CFL where it impacts because it was announced, hey, you're Canadian, you want to go represent your country in 2028 in Los Angeles in flag football, you go right ahead. Because I feel like for Team Canada, a lot of it probably will be like a CFL All-Star team. I know everyone's thinking right now, oh, NFL. I don't think I think with NFL, you're going to see the lower tiered players go. You're not going to see the Patrick Mahomeses. You're not going to see Justin Jeffersons. I know everyone's like, oh, why wouldn't you see them? There's probably clauses in their contracts because the money they're making, they probably say no. But my question to you is with this little caveat, does the CFL pause for a couple weeks or do they just keep going and teams are a little bit more, having to juggle rosters? Because it is only 2 weeks, but it just was one of those things I was thinking of where I'm like, hey, we all know this year NHL is going back to the Olympics, and
Yep.
basically for the whole month of February, there's not going to be there's not going to be any NHL hockey. Jesus Christ! But like, do
Okay,
you think it's the same sort of thing? Because I think no. I think the CFL will just kind of go on as is. But what do you think?
When I first heard about it, I thought that they would kind of go on as is, but I thought that they would try and time a number of the teams to have bye weeks during those 2 weeks. So that way, then it would, if you know how they have right now, they have the 2 weeks basically, there's only 3 teams playing.
Like Labor Day.
And yeah, and I think they may try and do that during those 2 weeks so that you really only have like 4 or 6 teams playing or whatever, but you can do that with the little bit of reduced roster. So the trick will be is then do they say, okay, well, we need, because these people are off playing for Canada or possibly the States, or possibly, like, I mean, we have other people that could be playing somewhere else. um I wonder then if they're like, well, okay, how strict are they going to be on the ratio if there's a whole bunch of Canadians gone? So it'll be interesting to see how they play that out. But I feel like the main thing is they'll try and keep going, and they'll just try and plan some bye weeks in there so that it's not as hard for every team to be able to make it through those 2 weeks.
Yeah, I really like that. That's what I think will end up happening. You know, just limit the bye weeks, limit the not limit the bye weeks, like increase the bye weeks where hey, you're only having 2 games in a weekend, or you're having like handful of teams on bye.
Right.
I know it's not ideal, but at the same time too, you have to do it just, and also too, for when they come back, they kind of have to, because we don't know how long they're going to be gone for. We don't know,
Right.
like, is there other training involved? It's just one of those things that makes me think. I feel like not a lot of people are asking, and obviously Stuart Johnson's going to talk to the media, I believe, Friday, and then he's also going to talk to the fans, which that one's going to be a doozy. But
You don't say.
yeah, the media one I don't have a problem with. I've talked to Stu a couple of times even after the rule announcements, but you know you're going to get a couple of, which I'll say this, I believe in the vision, just like I understand why he's doing what he's doing. Like, you know, I know
Mhm.
there's a lot of people out there where it's like this and this. Like the one thing I will say though, which, because I was at the I was at the Yates Cup, excuse me, Saturday, and I
Okay.
had
Yeah.
some Laurier fans ask me, "Hey, is U Sports going to change those rules?" And I was just like, I feel like
Yeah.
eventually they'll have to bend the knee to, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think eventually it's going to be like anything, you know, hey, CFL's doing it, we're going to have to do it. So then where it's just going to trickle down high school, grassroots, etc. But
Right.
no, there's a lot going on this week in Winnipeg, and I think you're going to get some reports from that fan address thing, because a lot of the fans are going to have questions to them, because fans don't get the same sort of access that like I've had the Stuart Johnson, or even to an extent, if you, I don't like you, some of you guys in
Mhm.
I know with Hamilton, you talk to the players and stuff like that, Hamilton, Edmonton, but that's where I think it's going to be a lot of answering, and hopefully there's a few people that can kind of go quiet from here on out.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that what I think, because I think you and I talked about this last time a little bit, in the fact that it's, I think more the people are really worried, or people that are quite angry about it, are they don't get the why,
Yeah.
right? Like, and the why that Mr. Johnson gave us is uh like, it's an okay why, but it's not really like a good why. Now, I found it a bit funny, and I think that was in our group chat. That was maybe somebody should, ask Nathan Rourke about the goalpost being in the way on the replay for the catch after all
Yeah.
of this. But it's the thing is that the game needs to evolve.
Yeah.
As a longtime fan, I it hurts me to not be able to see a 55-yard line, because the rest I can wrap my head around. But to me, Canadian football was 3 downs, the rouge, and the 55-yard line. That meant it was a Canadian game, right? You could see the 55 or the C, or whatever, right? So that part's probably the hardest one for me. But as people are talking to me about, okay, well, this does open up the ability for expansion, and maybe do some of like, it opens up other fields that they could play on, and I'm like, Okay, but again, we don't know that for sure.
Yep.
We're only, you know, it's all a conjecture right now. So I think that's where people, and I don't blame Stu for not saying anything about it if they don't have anything specifically planned. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that would be a good move, but I can see people that say, oh, well, you're just saying that to cover the rule changes. And I'm like, no, I can see that as a real possibility. And I think if people knew that why, and that was a little more for sure, I think they still would be grumpy about it because tradition is tradition. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
go to an Edmonton game. There are still people that will not call them the Elks. That they still sing the fight song the old way. They still like it. It happens every time. So there's going to be people who have been with this league for a very long time that are going to have a really hard time with the changes, no matter what. I get that. On the other hand, if it can show growth in the league and it can bring more in for the league, which means the players get more and the league gets more, I think then it might be a little more, oh, okay, I get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like people will it'll take a while to get warming up to. It's kind of like this is gonna be a weird example, but it's kind of like if in a family situation, because I've been through this before, where you lose an or you have to say goodbye to one animal, and then eventually you get another animal. But at first, it's kind of that like awkward stage of like, we had so many good memories with this dog or cat to where
Yeah.
how is this new dog or cat going to do there? And then you kind of realize after time, hey, they're different, but each dog has each animal has something different about them. I think it's gonna be the same thing where a
Right.
lot of fans are gonna have to take some time. If the only thing I'd be worried about, where I think that people will be hard pressed, is if point scoring doesn't dramatically improve to where
Fair.
if you are seeing constant games of in the 20s, in the single digits, I don't think that's a problem. I think CFLs like I tell people, CFL overs are an awesome thing to bet, but that's the 1-800 gambler in me talking. But like I think like the things like the goalposts, I'm like cool. I still wonder if it wasn't for FIFA, would it be next year? That stuff would be going into effect because you'd have
Mm-hmm.
to because they've said this like, hey, with I know with BC Place and BMO Field, once FIFA leaves those venues, I think it's going to take a while before BC and Toronto both play home games, which I don't think is going to be until August of next year.
Right.
But yeah, but with the so they're gonna have to retrofit it back to there to where it's like hey, to then get into your new home and have to play. Obviously, they play in the new stadiums, but obviously in your stadium, it would take some time. So I think 2027's that stuff. So at that point, everyone kicks off week one. Everyone's on even playing field, figuring out, hey, oh, here are the goalposts. Hey, here are this. The coaches that figure out, hey, where can you be aggressive on second and third down?
Right.
Where can instead of playing for the kick, you gotta hustle it up. So it is like that's one thing Stewart did confirm to me. It's like NFL rules where it's going to be 17 yards. So say if you get to the 30-yard line, it's a 47-yard field goal.
Oh,
Which,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
which even at that point too, it's going to make those. I think the one thing people aren't talking about with that, it's going to make those like 3-minute and 2-minute drives that much more exciting because instead of hey, get to midfield or just around there after like in the 40s, kick a field goal and hope to walk it off,
Mm-hmm.
you got to earn those couple extra plays and downs. So you know what, you earn that end of game excitement, kind of like what we saw last weekend, to where it creates cinema towards the end of a football game. The
Now, as
one,
long as
yeah,
they keep the clock the way that it runs now inside the 3 minutes,
that's the big question mark I
and they
have.
don't, and we don't know that yet, right? If they run it like the just 35-second play clock go, that actually takes all the drama out of that last 3 minutes because people can just you run them out of timeouts and then you can just you know kneel it down and take off a lot of time off the clock. So I I'm hoping that what they say is it's a 35-second immediate clock. That's fine, but inside 3 minutes, it's a 35-second play clock. But it the same rules apply as what we have now with the 20-second play clock inside that 3 minutes. Just so that way, then there's so much more opportunity to create that drama and to have that exciting finish.
Yeah, that's the thing you want. You want the exciting finishes at the end of games. You also, because like the thing I don't want to see is the thing like, look, as an NFL fan, I love it when my team gets to do this, where you get the football, you kneel it out, you go home. I don't want that to where you're seeing teams do that. Like, obviously, it does happen from time to time in the CFL. If there's a close game
Sure.
and you see, but like it happened with the Argos this year, Arbuckle threw an interception, Ottawa took the knees and goes home. I don't want to see it where a team, with a minute 30 left is taking knees. I think knees are
Correct.
reserved for when there's less than a minute to go in the game and the game's out of hand and the other team's got the ball. That's where I'm like, okay with it. That's the only thing I don't want to see is where I want to see teams find ways to, not clock manipulation, but use the clock to their advantage to get into the positions they need to either, win the game, tie the game, or even on defense, prevent the other team from winning or tying the game. That's the thing. I think because I still think there's gonna be a lot of questions to be answered, and also for next year too. I know a lot of people are saying, "Hey, this could be the last true Grey Cup under these rules." Where it's like, no, the only thing's changing for next year is the sidelines, the clock, and then which I'm still trying to figure out, and then the Rouge.
Yes.
Yeah, which I don't have a problem with the Rouge. Not you basically saying you have to earn it because there is that, because this all I still feel like if it wasn't for that Hiralahu missed field goal walk-off in 24, I don't know if that's discussed, but that kind of opened the box to, hey, what if this happens in a playoff game? What if a missed kick?
I think there's that, but also like Jake Julian specifically punting it through the end zone at the end of 2024 to win that last game. They wanted to prevent that. Okay. My thing with the Rouge though is that I would, if it bounces inbounds and isn't touched, but then goes out of bounds, I think that should still be a Rouge because you have a chance to get it. But if you don't, then it should. But anyway, I'm just being picky.
Yeah, it's just what everyone kind of has their everyone's got their thing with the rules. Like, it's like you're gonna have people that are gonna accept it, you're gonna have people that aren't gonna accept it, you're gonna have people who have their weird conspiracy theories. I already mentioned one of them by name, but who eventually, you want to tell to go fly a kite, but at the same time too, you don't want to give that person the time of day.
Yes.
Yeah, and also one of which called out our colleague JC Abbott on Twitter the other day. But
yes.
Yeah, man of character apparently has no integrity. But I feel like I feel like people are gonna have to warm up to the whole, what Stu is doing, and then once they do that, it'll be fine. It's just one of those things, hey, give it some time, it'll be fine.
Yep.
But you're still gonna have some people that are gonna fight. You're still gonna have people fight it, and I feel like
sure.
Towards the end of next season, I think you're gonna see people get emotional about the 55-yard line, like the ones that. Like people say what they want now. I think towards the end of next season, when it's going away, that's where people are going to say that, or people are going to have to get used to it. But hopefully for the good of the league and because obviously we know next year's Grey Cups in Calgary. One, I assume you'll be at. One, I'm planning on being there right now. Like Winnipeg, I was always kind of like bullish on just because first of all, I wasn't with 3 Down at the start of the season.
Oh, yeah.
But then I literally joined 3 Down literally like 3 days before the season started. That was the thing with me. I got a phone call from Dunk the Monday of the first Monday in June, and then here we are. But for 2026, and I already told this to him that I want to be in Calgary for 2026. And then the question for you is though 2028. I wanted to ask you this before we go more into awards and Grey Cup and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think it'll be Edmonton hosting? Like, I want you to put your bias aside. Do you think Edmonton has a chance to host, or do you think they'll probably throw a bone to Ontario in that one, seeing it'll have been 5 years at that point since Eastern Canada hosted a Grey Cup?
Yeah, I feel like it will go back out east. So whether that be Toronto or depending on where Ottawa is with rebuilding their north.
I think 29
is 29. Okay, so
I'm gonna Google.
Okay, so I think that now again with the way the system is, it's all based on bids, right? So I was under the impression that Edmonton had a bid going in for this year's Grey Cup. What I have heard though is that Saskatchewan won going in for 2027, but then Saskatchewan won it, but I heard they won it uncontested. So something happened along the road along the road that the Edmonton bid didn't hit the table. So I don't know what happened for them, which made that a little more difficult. But there's a ton of speculation, I'm sure. Like, uh, our Alberta government is meh. So
Yeah.
that may have something to do with it. Who knows? Um, but as we get closer to um, 28, I really don't. I again, it depends on who bids. And so if there isn't a bid from the east, then it'll come back out west. But my guess, if I had to take a guess at it, I would say that Toronto would at least try for 28, just to try and have another one out east. Um, we don't know where Ottawa's construction is going to be at. We don't know if Montreal is ever going to get the Big O into a spot where they can play a game. And that's what probably it's going to take to get it back to Montreal. So I feel like 28 will still be out east. If Ottawa is done by 29, then you'd have to think that 29 is Ottawa. And then so maybe 30 is when we see it back in Edmonton.
So the only article I found is from a wonderful website called 3downnation.com.
Oh, that's a great website, I hear. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And basically it says this is obviously from last December, but it says in here, following the 2027 season, it's expected to take 2 years. So 28 and 29, they'll be at a reduced capacity.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Where
So,
then I can see 2028 being either because I'm still with the mind of like, I think it was Hodge or one of the three of them said it on the podcast
mm-hmm.
that if Toronto puts in a bid, they're going to get it.
Yes.
I just think right now MLSE has got other things on their plate, and that's not a knock on the CFL. They're about to welcome the world to BMO Field. They have to,
Yep.
because here's the other thing with BMO Field too. That entire basically Saturday there is the NSL, the Northern Super League, the new women's soccer league.
Yep.
Their final is at BMO Field Saturday.
Right.
Apparently Sunday or Monday, crews are basically getting in there. They're gutting the press box, and then they're going to work because they got about 6.5 months to get everything ready for when FIFA moves in.
Right.
And building all the stands, remodeling the press box, all that other stuff there. So I think once all that's said and done, I do think they do want to host a Grey Cup. I could see it being 28. I could see it being 29. But if
mm-hmm.
none of the other three stadiums are, Hamilton's going to be right there saying, hey, yep, we'll take it.
We'll do it again. Sure. Yeah.
I don't know if you were, there's my stuff right there. That was the only Grey Cup I attended. I had a lot of fun. I thought Hamilton was a good job at hosting it. I just was shocked when I got to the stadium and realized, holy crap, they blocked off a lot of the street here.
Yeah. It was no, I had a ton of fun in Hamilton. Actually, I thought it was a good Grey Cup. So yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that. It's more just it used like way back. Sorry, we all talked about how dogs can be so great. Mine's sitting beside me, knocking my arm off so that I can make sure I pet him properly.
Good boy.
They used to go east west, like it was always that way, right?
Yeah.
And again, that doesn't mean that just because it was always that way you should keep doing it that way, but it's right now it's just hard because you look at now we're talking about this for Edmonton, where the last time they hosted was 2017.
Was it not 18?
Sorry, 2018. Yeah, 2018. And
17 was Ottawa.
Correct. Yes. And so was 17 Ottawa? No, I thought 16 was Ottawa and 17 was Toronto.
No. 16 was Toronto
and 17
Ottawa. Here's where you're getting confused because Ottawa won in Toronto in 16 and then Toronto won in Ottawa in 17. Both beating you're going to like this one. Both beating the Calgary
Stampeders, which was excellent. Yeah. So yes. So
Ottawa, it was a snowstorm in that game.
I was there. Yes, it was very wet snow. Yes. And I hung out with our other colleague, Ryan Ballantyne, after the game and tried to console him after that. It was it's just now you look at, okay, so it's 2018, but now because they've stayed like west, like you said, if Toronto throws in a bid, they're definitely getting it because they haven't been out east for this long, which now it doesn't even give, like you automatically bump Edmonton back that many years. Do you know what I mean? Like it's harder to be that back and forth. So the bid system, I get it. You want to have somebody who says, hey, we want to host it and here's how we're going to do it.
You want the city, the province, all that stuff to get behind
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So that's the part that we want to, we definitely want to see that. On the other hand, it's hard to go without going back and forth. Who to, when you're trying to predict who will get it next, like I never in a million years would have thought Saskatchewan would be back on the radar already, right? But if no one else bid, that's what they get it, right?
Yep. I do think though 28. So my prediction right now is the 28 is going to be Hamilton or Toronto, and then 29 is going to be Edmonton, and then I could see whoever doesn't get, and then I could see 30, 31 being a combination of whoever doesn't get 28, and then they go to Ottawa. That's what,
And then
because at that point
okay.
you're creeping in on 15 years between Toronto and Ottawa not hosting, and then I know everyone's saying Montreal. I did have, and also just to mention quickly, Ryan Ballantyne, friend of the show as well, was on here about a month ago.
Yes.
From a hotel room in Edmonton.
Yeah.
But
of course he was.
yes.
Yeah.
But no, friends of the show, Alouette Flight Deck confirmed to me that apparently the Olympic Stadium's renovations are going to be done. They're basically fixing the roof, and it's going to be done, I think, by 29 or 30. So I feel like sometime in the 2030s, that's where they'll get a Grey Cup. And then at that point, too, you know what? You're probably going to have BC start clamoring again, saying, hey,
right.
We want next.
Yep. And at that point, they'd be more than, I mean, they just hosted last year, but they'd be more within their range to say, yep, it's our turn again. So, which is fine. I'm happy with that. That's great. I love BC ones. They're really fun. And it's usually not very cold. It's wonderful. So I would never complain about a Grey Cup in BC, especially not in early November. Yeah.
And also,
sign me up.
Yeah, and even to like say like for next year, if you and I are both in Calgary, it's like the game starts at 4:30 in the afternoon, and we're all done by like 7, 8 o'clock at night. It's like, hey, got the rest of the night to yourself.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Like I am perfectly fine with. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think we say if, when we're both in Calgary next year, we can watch the game and then go out and enjoy it afterwards.
Exactly. It's exactly that.
Because both of our teams are going to be in it, right? That's totally what. Yeah,
Toronto. When was the last time Toronto played Edmonton in a Grey Cup? That's one thing.
You're speaking to the wrong person from my podcast. Mike could probably bring that up in a moment's notice, but if I had to guess, I would say they have to have played one other time other than 87, right? Or is it just 87 would be the last one?
So that's
Did they play in? Oh, they might have played in the 90s against each other.
96.
Oh, I should have known that because it wasn't a fumble. Stupid damn Flutie shouldn't have won that game.
I was only gonna be 3 years old, although and then in 1997 they defeated Sask in Edmonton. So they won in Hamilton in 96, and then they won in Sask in 97, which about a couple months ago, it's currently drying in my peripheral vision, but I actually thrifted for $15 a 1997. Actually, if you I want to go get it, but like I don't want to like just have you be here like.
Well, that's fine. Go get it. I'm curious. I want to see it. So this would be very cool. If I should just say that 97 one, I should have remembered that, or 96 one. Oh wow. Okay. So you know what should be on the back of that? It was a fumble. That's what should be on the back of it, because
this is 97, not 96.
Oh, that's 97. All right, fair enough. Then I'll allow it. But 96 also featured one of my all-time favorite catches by an Edmonton player, downtown Eddie Brown, pulling it off his shoelaces in the snow to run down for a touchdown. That was a crazy game. So that's I can replay that one in my mind. I can just see that one. So it's a very good one. Look up that one on YouTube. You'll appreciate it.
I will have to, because I was a toddler when that game played. But no, I'm
not going to talk about how old I was when that game played.
When the one that it was a fumble, I was going to be 3 in a month. That the next year, that shirt, I was 3 turning 4.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So when that one happened, So that was in 96. Yeah. So I would have been 22 years old. So that gives you an idea of there's a reason I have no hair and all of this is silver. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But no, long story short, there's a place near me that's like, it's not a, I know, and we're gonna talk about beer in a little bit, but it's
Yes.
not a brewery, but they have like, it's basically like a bar, but they have just different kind. They basically have rotating where it's like, once they're like, say if they have a West Coast IPA on from one brewery, once that keg's done, they replace it just with something completely random. You know, it could be
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow. Okay.
it, and then there was a Sunday in July. They had a huge, like, they got a bunch of local thrifts from the local thrift stores in the area.
Okay.
And I always go for the sports stuff just to see what's there. I got a cool
Of course.
1992 Jays Champions t-shirt. That was a little bit more. That ran me, but I think it was like almost 45 or 50, but it was really cool and I got it.
Very
That
cool.
that puppy right there, $15.
Oof. Totally worth it.
I saw it and I was like, like no one else saw it, and I'm like, huh. And I'm like, so it was in the dryer, but no, that shirt I saw it, and that's like I showed you, it's got the starter patch, the 1997 Grey Cup. I'm like, that is such a cool shirt. I had to have had it.
Nice.
I want it.
Nice.
I got it.
Yep. Very, very well done. Very
Yeah.
well done.
But but yeah, no, and then so that's what I think about the Grey Cups. And then one question I had for you, because I always notice there's one award in particular that I always kind of keep my eye on, because
Okay.
I love the fact too that CFL does MOP versus MVP, because MOP stands, hey, who was the best? And which sometimes MVP, everyone kind of takes, oh, this person had the best season. I'm like, yes, but valuable to outstanding are two different keywords, two different buzzwords. Valuable
Agreed.
means they're attributed to the team's success.
Agreed.
For as much as Bo Levi Mitchell has been a great player for Hamilton, you won't make the argument. You basically can make the argument with BC that they aren't where they almost were without Nathan Rourke, and that's why I think he's going to win it. Like I said last year, Brady Oliveira was my MOP because Winnipeg got to the playoffs, and the whole thing I have with that award is you should win MOP. To win MOP or MVP, you have to be in the playoffs.
Okay. Okay. And I usually kind of find that anyway, because usually if you're talking about MOP and you're talking about most outstanding player, you're not going to find that team usually, because they have a most outstanding player, they've made it to the playoffs, right? The only one that there's been sometimes where you're like, well, does that count? If Edmonton had now granted, if Edmonton offensive line was able to block for regular running plays and not just have the explosion plays that Justin Rankin has exploited, and Justin Rankin had the season that he probably could have, they would be in the playoffs as well, and we could be talking about him as the MOP. But yeah, it usually, again, if you have an outstanding season, you're usually bringing your team with you, means that you're gonna be in the playoffs anyway. But I agree with you, Rourke. The other part that I'm just going to say is that, yes, I know Bo Levi ran for a touchdown or two this year, which is weird for him. But when you how many games, if we went back and looked at all the games, how many games would do for Bo Levi Mitchell did you go, wow, that is unbelievable play? Like, there was probably some, but there was that many more with Rourke that would mean to me, that's the most outstanding. The guy who just, like, man, that was like the 70-yard run against Edmonton. Holy man, like, just craziness. That guy, yeah, totally deserves it.
That's like we said. You know what? Play after play, effort after effort. Just he showed why he was him, for lack of a better word.
Exactly.
But the one award that I don't have a problem with it, but I just like to see the criteria done better, is Coach of the Year. So in the NFL, Coach of the Year usually goes to, the team wasn't expected to be, not expected, but like, hey, you exceeded expectations. Holy crap, this team is awesome. This team is great. And then with the CFL, I always think it's, hey, it's the best Coach of the Year won it. Like, I still make the argument for Ryan Dinwiddie that in 2024, him leading the Argos to 10-8 without their starting quarterback for a lot of the year and getting that home playoff game was a much better effort than 16-2 with the team you had. I do think Corey Mace is going to win the award this year. He was my pick to win it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with everything being said, I think that if they followed more that like exceeded expectations category, that's where I think you would see maybe a Buck Pierce or a a Jason Moss winning the award as
Yes.
opposed to a Corey Mace. You know, like next year, if Edmonton comes in and they get the 1 seed and they run through everyone, that's where I think you give it to Mark Killen. But I go into next year, everyone looks at, you know what, probably going to look at the Buck Pierce or even Ryan Dinwiddie as well in Ottawa. That's just one thing with Coach of the Year. Like I understand why it goes to the best coach, but I just think that whole of hey, being the young son hero when Saskatchewan was supposed to have this season. Because think about it with the Sunday, Sask was supposed to be here. They're in the position
Yes.
they're in. Montreal, you could make the argument, hey, they had a chance to get there, but there was a lot of adversity they faced throughout the year. So that's just my
Yes.
2 cents.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I actually think that if I was going to just say coach of the year, um, my vote actually went for Jason Moss because, in my opinion, he had basically a brand new quarterback. I know that Davis Alexander played some last year and showed how good he was. Don't get me wrong, but he had to carry that out through a whole season after people have, seen film, right? Um, he dealt with an injury to that quarterback and had to deal with some losing sides of things and still found a way to get through to be in almost take first spot in the East, got to second and got their way all the way to the final, and then of course now are going to the Grey Cup, but the vote was in earlier, and in my opinion that's a lot harder to do than, like you said, I don't know that the expectation was for Moss and the Alouettes to be there,
Yeah.
whereas the expectation for Mace this year was to be in the West Final and or the Grey Cup, right? So, I if they had a little, if Saskatchewan had a little more adversity. I mean, they had some adversity to deal with, I guess, with a kicker, uh,
Yeah.
but uh, but they didn't have that same um, adversity throughout the year that totally derailed where we thought they were going to be anyway. Do you know what I mean? So I think that I thought that was more commendable in that particular situation.
Yes, and on the voting front, I did not have a vote, but I can also officially announce, I didn't believe I said this at the top of my show, that I am also now a proud member of the One of Us cult army called the Football Reporters of Canada as well. I
Nice.
paid my money to Jeff Hamilton this afternoon, my $40, and
Excellent.
I'm a part of the FRC now. So I'll be voting in 2026.
Awesome. That's amazing. Yes. So I've been lucky enough to be part of it since 2017,
Oh,
when we were in Ottawa. And yeah, so I've been able to get some really good dudes, but I've only been able to do voting the last 2 years. So it's kind of cool. You're like, okay, I'm watching and yeah, I like, these are the parts we want to vote for. Right. So it's a little harder for me. Because I watch a lot of the games that don't have Edmonton in them. I watch them a little more on speed dial, shall we say,
yeah.
because I'm got other things going on. So when we get down to like picking the most outstanding offensive lineman, or as we say on our show, there is only Mool. Then it takes me a little while to figure out who is who would
Yeah.
be the best in the league. I know who is best on Edmonton. Probably know most of the ones in the West because I've seen a lot of them throughout the season. But the East ones, I have to do a little more homework before I can say, yeah, this is the one I'd pick.
Yes, exactly. And I'll have to be the opposite, but for next year, like I do my homework on the East, but I'll have to do a lot more homework for the West.
Maybe we just compare notes at the end of the season, you and I, and I'll just and then we just
Yes.
be good.
We'll cheat off each other.
That's right. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I can just peek at your notes. I'll let you peek at mine. We're good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yes.
How drunk do people get at the Spirit of Edmonton breakfast? Ryan gave me a little bit of an insider's secret to it, but I wanted to ask an Elks fan themselves.
Oh yes. Well, I've seen all levels. I have experienced all levels myself. The Spirit of Edmonton breakfast. The trick is that it's really hard to pace yourself with the sluice juice because it really does just taste like orange juice, and you don't realize how much vodka is actually in it. And so you just kind of keep going. And they say sociable a lot, and so you feel inclined to say sociable and take a drink. But when your breakfast is I'm not saying the breakfast is good, but it's the low light of the morning. It's the and there are lots of people who have tricks, where they store sluice juice jugs underneath their tables and things, so that you don't they just keep bringing more and you kind of stock up. But lots of people cannot walk straight
Oh,
coming out of that. And I have had that a couple of times. One in particular, actually in Hamilton,
oof.
when we left there, because it was away from downtown. It was up on they called it a mountain. It's a hill.
Yeah.
But it was up there. And so I was up there with Kayla from the podcast, and yeah, we had a very good time. And we're like, okay, we got to get to the CFL Fans Fight Cancer event. No problem. Okay, so let's get an Uber. Well, from the event, it was like $70 or some stupid thing. So
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just walk down the road until we can get it for a cheaper price. And it was an adventurous walk. It was very I would not have passed the sobriety test, let's put it
Oh,
that way. And luckily Kayla was there to make sure that I didn't walk off the sidewalk. And we got down further down where we could get it for about $35, and that was a lot easier. So but it's just the part of it is like everybody's together. One of the things that I love about the Spirit of Edmonton breakfast is that you see every team's colors, and you see everybody going around just having a good time, experiencing all those different teams at that moment. It's not about it being the Spirit of Edmonton. It's about being the Spirit,
yeah.
and everybody is together. So it's a great old time. And I have a couple of times paced myself enough that I have felt reasonable when I've left, so that you can go to the CFL Fans Fight Cancer event and not be like sitting in a corner trying to catch your breath. It's no, it's a great time.
Amazing, amazing. Because
Yeah.
I was wondering what the sleuth juice is, but I feel like it's just like a very heavy screwdriver.
Um, yes. Well, okay. So it has orange juice, and it has vodka. Okay. There's two other ingredients.
Mm.
One is a very secret ingredient, so that I just figured out my own self like last year. So, and I've been going for a while. That we can't tell anybody. And, but yeah, it makes it so that it tastes. Yeah, it just tastes like really, really good orange juice.
Ah,
and,
amazing, amazing.
and last, or was it Hamilton, was the first time actually that the Grey Cup Fun Police were there, and they actually were out handing out. They brought out the first jugs of sluice juice, and of course I love those guys. I'm friends with them, and so then I'd be like, hey, I need here's another jug. Oh, great. Yeah, it was a mess later that day, but it was great in that moment. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh God, that sounds amazing. But anyway, Sunday afternoon, kick your feet up. Sunday evening for some of us, kick your feet up, relax, because we've got the 112th Grey Cup from Winnipeg.
Oh.
Sask opening up as minus 4.5-point favorites. But I'll let you in on a little secret. The underdog has won 3 years in a row.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Made some
Hmm.
very good money betting on the Argonauts in 2022 at plus 180. Montreal was plus 300 in 2023. And then Toronto last year was plus 320 to win. I don't know what Montreal's odds are right now. I do expect this line to come down. This line kind of has been fluctuating. I feel like it is Tuesday, November 11th, when we are recording this. The game is in 5 days from now. So I feel like we still have a little bit more of not an understanding, but a feeling out process to where this line does come down a little bit leading up to the game itself. I'm just going to open up again because I use Toonie Bet, which happens to be official sports betting partner of the CFL, for all my odds. And one key thing, I'm going to say this, even with the question of Davis Alexander's health in play,
Hmm.
I've picked against him enough this year to where I don't want to make that mistake. I know Sask is a lot riding on the line,
Yep. Mhm.
and Jason Moss knows how to win in this situation. I would love, love, love to see Sask get the win, but there's that voice inside of me saying Montreal's going to do it again.
Yeah, okay, so are we going into our actual like our actual
Oh, we'll
bets
talk
for
about the
this
game
game?
first. I'm just saying like
Okay.
what I think.
I think this game, um the best part about this game is that there is going to be so much intrigue on how close it's going to be, because I think we could get as close on the line as to a pick 'em for this game, because this both Saskatchewan defense and the Montreal defense are both playing very, very well. No doubt about that. Trevor Harris has really found a connection with his receivers, and he's got healthy receivers that can, that have blown up the league a lot, but you don't know which is going to be the one he's going to. The one thing with Harris, though, is that he doesn't move around in the pocket a whole lot. And what is Montreal's defensive line the best at? Getting after the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it. And Davis Alexander, the thing that I love about watching him is just that ability to scramble and then find somebody downfield, right? So I don't know. It's been a while for Saskatchewan fans, and so for the fans that I know that I'm friends with, I want them to win. Montreal just won 2 years ago, but you know what? It's hard to discount, like you said, Jason Moss, and the way that Davis Alexander has kind of come onto this scene. 12 in a row now. Is that what it is, or was that 13 in a row, or was it
I
12 in a row?
think it was I'm gonna
It was
I'm gonna use
13.
my friend the googly machine.
Okay, great. It's enough that he hasn't lost a game yet, so it's pretty hard to bet against him. That would be that's my feeling on it. So I don't know. It's one of those ones though where usually there's ones where you're like, oh, it's totally like the last 3 years, like you said, there's great big. It's like, oh, this team's got to win, right? And
Yeah.
then it isn't. Yeah.
13-0 is the record, by the way.
Wow. 13-0. Jeez. So if his first loss comes in the Grey Cup, boy, that's that there's a storyline for you. But I do, yeah, I don't know. I think he finds a way, but I think it truly is going to be a back and forth game. It'll be very close all the way through.
Yeah, I think this game's gonna be very back and forth. I do think that for if Montreal wins the game, I do think not their MOP. I think if they win, MOP
Right.
is going to be Alexander, but
Yep.
MOC I think will go to one of the defenders, whether it be
Yeah.
Isaac. I don't want to pronounce his full last name, or
Adiemi Berglund.
Berglund.
Best. Okay. Yeah. I got. Yeah.
Or like a Mark Anthony Ducroix.
Yep.
Tyson Philpott could very well do it again if he steals a show and has a game. But
Yep.
Austin Max getting healthy. Yeah, Austin Max been healthy. We've seen what he did on the big stage 2 years ago. He basically was a
Yep.
huge reason why they won in Hamilton. But we're forgetting another Canadian receiver on the Sask side of the ball, and that's Keon Schaefer-Baker. They missed him a lot this year. Had a huge game in the West Final.
Yep.
Tommy Neald as well.
Sam MLS.
MLS.
They yeah.
Robotussi.
Oh yeah, Robustelli.
Robustelli.
There we go. Yeah.
But I can also see a world where AJ Olette kind of just, says, I'm not cold. I'm going to go run the ball. I'm going to go kill some people. But because I
Could
think
be.
ultimately that could be a huge thing in this game because both defenses can get up and defend the ball. But it's defending the run that I'm excited to see because Montreal's run game, it's not, I'm not saying that it's not strong, but, it's not as like what we've seen from some of these other teams. Like, for example, Justin Rankin in Edmonton, James Butler, AJ
Right.
Olette, etc. Brady Oliveira even
Yep.
in Winnipeg, to where AJ Ouellette can really turn the game on a dime with his feet and his long, luscious locks of hair.
He can. I love that you said it that way because
Yeah.
that's really what changes it around is the Pantene look where he can
Yes.
just
Just
flip it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
something you and I don't have the ability to do.
I have no idea what that is anymore. No, no, that's why I have an 18-year-old who has hair like that. But that's not yeah, it he could change it. The fact of the matter is that the Montreal defense great at getting out for the quarterback, hit miss on the run, right? Like they can stop it, and Beverette's been a big help in that, but some games not so much. Same thing on the Saskatchewan side, though. We've seen them be able to give up running games. And so does Stevie Scott now, after a couple of playoff games and a couple little more experience, is he able to exploit that after his monster game 2 weeks ago? We'll see. But this might be one of those ones though, where if you were to set up and go, okay, at quarterback, who has the advantage, right? It might be like, experience versus youth. You're right. Like it's not to. Oh my god! Every time you do that, all I can think of is 6, 7.
Not doing that. Not doing that.
Okay.
I'm doing the teeter totter. I'm doing teeter totter. Not
Okay,
doing that.
that's
No.
totally looked. Anyway,
I do that to annoy my sister, who's a 5th, 6th grade teacher, but that's another story.
Perfect. That's fantastic. But when you go down the line, you go quarterback, you go offensive line, running backs, receivers, defensive line, linebackers. They're
Offensive line, I would say, is probably the most even matchup in this game.
Yes, but I think all of them are very close. Like there's arguments to be made on who has the advantage on both sides. And I don't know. There hasn't been too many Grey Cups where you do that. A lot of them, it's like, okay, well, this team totally wins out in the quarterback position.
Yeah.
But this team dominates on the defensive line. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
that was
a little
Toronto
more
last year.
Right? Yeah, 100%. And now you look at it as they're fairly evenly matched all the way down. I might give Saskatchewan secondary an advantage over the Montreal secondary. Not that not that the Montreal secondary is bad, but that Saskatchewan secondary is playing on a different level.
Yep.
But yeah, receivers probably fairly even. Offensive line, fairly, like you said, probably the closest match in the game. Defensive line, I might give the edge to Montreal just from the way that they've been playing. So it's a very close battle.
It really is. I think I know I said what I said earlier, but the more I've been thinking about it, and I might eat crow for the pick, but I think it's time we get to our picks.
Okay.
I think this is going to be a close game. I love the over 48.5 points. I took the under 2 years ago thinking, oh, it's going to be a low scoring game. No. I think this game is really going to be an offensive shootout. And also to quote John Hodge, it's going to be a very mild Winnipegian Sunday in Winnipeg.
Yes, it will be. Yes.
I think Sask finishes the story. I know Montreal has looked really good, but I can see a world where Davis does play well, but the hamstring, we see it have its effects where it's like, hey, he looks good, but it's how good is he really? Because it has been a lingering injury for the year. And, it could lead to hopefully Pablo having a great article headline come Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just something that I've been following for almost 6 months now, and that's the legacy of Trevor Harris. He can have his Cody Fajardo moment Sunday night.
Sure. Yeah.
He's won Grey Cups, but he gets this Grey Cup and says, this is mine. No one can take that away from me. Corey Mace can stamp his footprint on the league. The Saskatchewan Roughriders can win their 5th Grey Cup in franchise history. But on the other side, too, you do have Montreal, who, if they do win, they would be winning their 9th, which would then tie the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at 9. Mm-hmm. But there's also something poetic as well about Ryder Green celebrating in the locker room of their arch rivals.
Yes.
For the fans at home, though, there's something poetic about their arch rivals having their worst moment in their home stadium. So it's kind of a double-sided coin, kind of like what Winnipeg went through 3 years ago in Regina in that Grey Cup when they lost. They were upset by Toronto. But For the first time in a very long time, this is a very even matchup to where you can make a case for either side winning.
Yep.
But I'm going to say this, and I could be wrong, but I'm sticking with Sask. I
Okay.
think that the story is there to be told. I think that at the end of the day, they're a team that they're playing for one another and that they know what the mission at hand is. And I'm not saying, hey, if Montreal wins, they win. There's just something beautiful to be written in the prairies about Sask getting a Grey Cup for the first time in
Oh,
12 years, mind you.
yes, 100% there is. And I don't want to take anything away from a Saskatchewan team that has done what they set out to do at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
They had a couple of bumps in the road, but nothing dramatic. They
No.
they found a way to win games, and yes, they had a bit of a problem with kicking, but that came around, that fixed itself. And that could be, Corey Mace and the special teams coach, helping out to get there. They've done all of the things that they normally do. My storyline, though, is a kid coming into the league and going 14-0 as a starter and wins the Grey Cup. Like, to me, that is just a bonkers story. And I agree with you. Trevor could have his Cody Fajardo moment.
Yep.
But I've also watched Trevor play in the Grey Cup and struggle. And so, I'm just gonna usually Trevor has a great game in the playoffs, and then the next game is kind of, and he didn't really have a great game, an okay game, but not a great game last week. I don't know if it's different when it comes to this, and I don't want to. I could see it again, much like you said. I can see it go both ways, but I think the momentum is on the young kid's side, with again a Noelthorpe defense that can just
Steal the
frustrate
game at a
people
given
to
moment.
exactly. So I'm going to go that with Montreal squeaking out the win. Now, by Thursday, I may have changed my mind, but right at this moment, I'm going to say that Montreal finds a way to take this one down.
It's just something with the story of Sask I've been following all year long. I've had a wonderful Rough Riders guest on here, Britton Gray, one of their radio
Mm-hmm.
personalities as well. Him and I have chatted it up a lot. I'll get to talk to him probably after the Grey Cup because I know he was one of those people like Ballantyne where they were only going to go to Winnipeg if the Riders were in the Grey Cup. I know they're
Right.
going to bring a great media contingency to there, which also does include our very own Justin Dunk.
Yes, sure does.
It sure does. But now we get to the fun part of the show before we wrap up.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you thinking about this because I know you're drinking Coke. I was drinking Dr. Pepper during this, but I haven't had a drink in a while. But what's the drink of choice for you this Sunday night while you're watching the Grey Cup?
Oh, well,
Anything special?
as
Any
of
special
as
beers?
of late, due to our excellent co-host and friend Linda on the podcast,
Remember her?
I have been introduced to an oatmeal stout, and
Ooh.
let me tell you, it is just wonderful with a like we had that with the grilled cheese and tomato soup, and it was just like a perfect balance of just warmth and goodness.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so I will be looking to have some oatmeal stout while I am watching the game, as we will probably have some, some homey goodness of nachos or something along those lines to go with it. And it's just that little bit thicker, and but a really nice. The one that I had kind of almost like a brown sugar taste. It was really good. So I highly recommend that. Yeah, so probably oatmeal stout. If not that, my go-to is which sounds funny because it's not really fancy at all, but Madria, which is the Labatt. Is it Labatt or no? It's Molson and the Spanish
Yes.
brewery combo. Probably the best lager I have ever had in my entire life. It's so good. I can't. It's so tasty. I don't know what it is, but it's very good.
So my go-to for football lately has been it's a little bit of a lighter one,
Okay.
but it's a fun one.
Oh,
I have a nickname for it too.
excellent.
I like to call it a little Miller latte, a little Miller light. It's just something about it. I don't know. It's just I was in Florida about a year ago on vacation, and we were in Fort Lauderdale, and Lauderdale, the sea to be specific, like a beach town within Lauderdale.
Yes.
And when you go to a place for happy hour and it's $2.75, you're not going to say no.
That's true.
So it's one of those things where I'm like, hey, this is nice. And on a hot summer day, hey, this is nice. So that, but then there is and it's nothing to do with golf, but there's a brewery about half an hour from where I live called Farm League. And they have an IPA called Birdie Juice.
Birdie Juice. That's amazing.
And I'll text you a picture of the can later, because I don't think I have any. Yeah, no, I don't. I have a beer fridge right here that I'm kicking, but it's like basically where I keep all the stuff I give to friends.
Okay.
My beer is in a Yeti cooler that I keep in my garage.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Yeah, and I wanted a Stag, by the way. I didn't pay full price.
Nice. Okay.
But with the Birdie Juice, I just had it because I'm an avid golfer, and basically it's a bird wearing like a little golfer outfit and a little golfer, like the old-timey golf hat and stuff like that. And I'm a sucker for when it says IPA with like orange or like the sweeter, like the summery IPAs compared to like the heavier, like I know you were talking about oatmeal stout, which that one sounds interesting, but like when I've heard of like the nitro, like coffee espresso.
Oh yeah.
Like those aren't up my alley. Like the espresso martini, for example, I like to jokingly say that's just vodka Red Bulls that went to private school.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are probably the two. And I may have nachos, but also the farmer's market I go to every weekend by my house has fresh meat. And so I'll probably buy some fresh wings from them. Ooh. And also a tradition that my mom passed down from her parents, chili
on the football day. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that'd be
little crock pot chili.
Little crock pot chili. Now, see, you put the oatmeal stout with that. Oh. Actually, we had a chili cook-off at the tailgate. Not the last game, the second last game, and Mike made his. It was a brisket chili with a chocolate porter in the chili. It was to die for good. And then we were drinking the chocolate porter on the side to go with it. Oh my, it was very, very good. So that's where your stouts and your porters, when you're getting into those nice like hearty meals, it just balances so nicely and it's so good.
Like a nice chili or a nice stew.
Yes, yeah, 100%. That would where those would land. So I might make the suggestion of that to my friend. Should we do chili or should we do? We'll probably do nachos. We'll do chili a different night and enjoy the porter.
And then the only thing I'll say tailgating is I've already told Valentine this. He does owe me a deep fried turkey when we do make the trip to Calgary.
Yeah, I know. I have to go down for that game just so that I can get some deep fried turkey. That's amazing. Yeah,
we all did. But Andrew, as always, it's a blast having you on. CFL season is winding down, unfortunately, but
it is.
You and I always seem to have a great conversation. What a perfect time to do it. Because you asked me before, is this the title of the podcast? No, I had another one in my mind. You know what that is? Because this week it is the Freepin Grey Cup, everyone.
Outstanding. Yes. I love it. And
it is the Michigan Mega Bowl. It is the Freepin Grey Cup, everybody.
That's right. So we wait for every year. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And unfortunately, like I said, I won't be there this year, but I will be there in Calgary and you will be there in Calgary. And we can talk like this beforehand, and then we can talk even more in Calgary, and it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. I can't wait to do it. Well, anyway, Andrew, enjoy the game Sunday. Enjoy what's left of the CFL season. Cause it's like the school year's winding down and then everyone kind of goes off and does their thing. And then in May, we'll be asking everyone, hey, what'd you do this winter? What'd you do this winter?
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm going to be like, I talked about a whole bunch of moves that they made. That's what's going to happen. And then, we'll be able to chat about that and hopefully we'll get confirmation on this time clock thing. So we'll have things to talk about, but then we'll be back in May and we'll be like, now who looks like they're going to take that next step? And I'm excited for that. But in the meantime, I will be excited for Sunday to sit down and get to the best game of the year, or what mostly is the best game of the year.
Absolutely. And with a great opening act like 3 Days Grace and hopefully a good halftime show by Machine Gun Kelly, we're in for just a great day on Sunday of football. Because for my American friends, you got a full NFL slate, you got the Grey Cup, and after the Grey Cup, if you want to, you can watch the end of the Detroit Lions taking on the Philadelphia Eagles.
See, that's right. Yeah, it's great. It's a great combo. Love it.
Beautiful day for football. Anyway, guys,
it is.
For the Freep, Andrew Hoskins, I'm Griff Bordegon. This has been episode number 406 of YWC Football Talk. Speaking of the NFL, I'll be back tomorrow night to get ready for week 11 of the NFL season. Have a good night, everybody. And remember, it's the Freepin Grey Cup.